No one gets lost in the crowd because here, the crowd is part of your identity. The streets don't walk, they slide, push, intertwine in a rhythm only those born here can understand. The city wakes before the sun, and the movement begins. Even before eyes are fully open. The most populous country in the world waits for no one. It demands breath from those who dare to live. The smell of food mixed with the vapor of the breath of thousands walking tightly together is part of the air. Some say it's impossible to breathe fully in urban centers, but those born here have learned to make scarcity a habit and adaptation an art. Every corner is its own universe, with silent rules, quick glances, and calculated steps dotting crowded markets. Hands touch food, clothes, electronics, and other bodies, all at once. Space is a luxury few know, and privacy is nearly a myth, but no one complains. Here, survival comes before comfort. And every movement is made with the urgency of someone who knows over 1 billion people are competing for the same space, the same opportunity, the same dream. Schools open early. Some classrooms have more than 60 students sharing the same space. Children compete for desks, notebooks, sometimes even the teacher's attention. Education is a collective challenge, where many learn more from life than from lessons. And still, there's a glow in the eyes of those who dream of college entrance exams, of the chance to leave statistics and become the exception. In the countryside, the scenery changes, but the number doesn't. Millions wake up with the sunrise to plant, harvest, carry. The land feeds the world, but it charges a high price from those who live by it. Calloused hands, sunburned skin, and curved bodies tell stories that aren't in books. They're in the silences of simple meals and the smiles exchanged during breaks. The big city offers lights, technology, consumption. But it also offers lines, hurry, pressure. The subway is a human tube swallowing people every second. People learn to sleep standing up, to use music as emotional defense, not to look into eyes so they don't get lost in lives they won't have time to know. Loneliness here isn't the absence of people. It's the excess of them. On the outskirts, reality is even denser. Unfinished buildings, alleys that get lost in unnamed paths, and dreams that try to climb the same steps every day. Poverty is silent, but present. It doesn't scream, it just stays. And still, there's color on the walls, shared food, neighborhood ties that work like safety ropes for those nearly slipping into the abyss of inequality. Religion pulses through alleys and skyscrapers. It's common to see temples, altars, lit candles, and whispered prayers in the streets. In a place where tomorrow is uncertain, faith is what keeps feet grounded. Beliefs vary, but the gesture is the same. Hands together, eyes closed, and a silent plea for a life worth living. In the industry, the rhythm is machine-like. Workers repeat the same motion hundreds of times a day. Sewing, packing, assembling, inspecting. Productivity is measured in seconds. Breaks are minimal. And dreams are often postponed for decades. Not from lack of will, but lack of choice. Here, exhaustion is the price of being inside the system. The government controls a lot. Freedom is relative. What can be said, published, shown, all goes through invisible but powerful filters. Some words are forbidden. Some ideas silenced. And still, some find loopholes. Art on walls, metaphors in song lyrics, hidden messages in digital poems. Creativity becomes resistance. Traffic is a symphony of horns, brakes, and mixed voices. Motorcycles weave through cars. Pedestrians cross. Where they can, buses are packed. Taking 2 hours to get to work is normal. Leaving before sunrise too. But no one finds it strange, because everything here is too big to be questioned. Technology moves fast. While some families lack indoor plumbing, others use facial recognition to pay for groceries. It's a contrast that no longer shocks. It's as if the country has multiple versions of itself running at once, each with its own speed, urgencies, and wounds. Food is another portrait of excess and scarcity. Sophisticated dishes in central areas, simple and repetitive meals in distant neighborhoods, but there's pride in what's cooked. Food, even when scarce, is made by hands that learn feeding is also caring. And often, it's the only gesture of affection in the day. Public health is a mosaic of extremes. There are cutting-edge hospitals and overcrowded clinics, well-trained doctors and medicine shortages, endless lines and short hope. But there are also human gestures that survive the routine. A nurse who listens, an assistant who holds a hand, a gaze that soothes. These moments make the difference. The elderly carry the country on their backs. Many still work, even past retirement. Others care for grandchildren while their children fight for survival. Old age here isn't rest, it's continuity. And still, there's wisdom in the eyes of those who've seen the country change many times without really changing. Children grow up fast. There's no time for prolonged innocence. They learn to fend for themselves early, help at home, take care of younger siblings. But they also invent games with almost nothing, build castles with loose bricks, laugh hard. Because even in the most crowded place on earth, there's still room for childhood. Social media shows only a fraction. Smiling selfies, edited landscapes, filters that hide the chaos. Outsiders may think it's all development, progress, power. But those who live here know, behind the facade, there are stories that don't fit any feed. Informal work fuels the base of the pyramid. Street vendors, delivery workers, hawkers, service providers. People who wake up early and return late, who live on the edge with no signed contracts or guarantees, but who carry the invisible engine of a giant nation in their hands. Culture blooms on every corner. Dances, music, street theater, urban art. It's the soul of the people escaping through the cracks of oppression. In a country that sometimes squeezes too hard, expression is the last breath of freedom. Students fight. They face tough exams, lack of infrastructure, family pressure. But they also create movements, occupy spaces, shout in the streets. Because they believe studying is still the most possible way to move up in the world. In the most distant villages, time passes differently. Traditions stay alive, rituals are preserved, old words are still spoken with reverence. But there's also struggle. Against forgetting, against exploitation, against the loss of what sustains their existence. Mothers are the core. They handle everything, balance all burdens, make the impossible fit into what little they have. And even exhausted, they still smile so their children don't see the weight of what it takes to live here. Inequality is what's felt most. It's in schools, hospitals, streets, in the gaze. It separates, limits, paralyzes. But it also pushes many to try the impossible, just to prove they're bigger than the fate others plan for them. In times of crisis, the country pulses even more. There are protests, screams, painful silences. Some fight with words, some with art, some just by existing. And it's in this chaos that the true spirit of the people is revealed. The boy crosses the street between two honks and a shove. He's not afraid. He learned to walk through traffic like someone dancing among dangers, with precision and a bit of luck. He's 9 years old, carries a bag of recyclable packaging, and already knows the price of each one per kilo. His world offers no rest, but it has a logic. And within that logic, he's learned to survive. At the top of a 40-story building, a businessman presses the elevator button in a hurry. Complains about the internet signal, the lukewarm coffee, the 5-minute delay in the meeting. Outside, on the same block, an elderly woman finishes collecting clothes strung between two shacks. The contrast bothers no one. It's everyday life. Almost natural. In the farthest suburbs, the city dissolves into dust. Asphalt gives way to dirt roads, and buildings become makeshift rooftops with antennas pointed at the sky. Barefoot children run around, sharing a kite made from a plastic bag and old string. The wind there is the same as downtown, but it blows in different directions. A young woman dreams of college. She studies at dawn after her factory shift. Her books have grease stains, her eyes bear marks of exhaustion. She knows she's behind the world, but she also knows she's still in the game. And for her, that's enough. As long as there's a chance, there will be a fight. The lines for public services stretch around corners. People with fevers, with pain, with hunger. They wait for numbers, for names on screens that never change, for doctors who are also exhausted. But no one gives up easily. Because giving up here is not an option. It's a sentence. The train arrives full. Doors open and close with violent motion. Arms try to hold on. Backpacks squeeze ribs. Eyes get lost in the reflection of the window. It's like a giant organism trying to stay alive despite everything. And everyone there is part of the system, tired but present. The city vibrates with screens. In squares, on subways, in classrooms. Children grow up touching images, hearing digital voices, learning to live with robots and algorithms. But deep down, they're still children. And they cry for simple reasons. A fall, a bad grade, an absence that weighs. Water doesn't always arrive. In the humblest homes, buckets pile up, water tanks run dry. Showers are short, clothes are washed sparingly. In many homes, water is more valuable than money. Because without it, not even the bare minimum is possible. In the mountains of the interior, villages resist time. Ancient customs, preserved languages, ancestral rituals. But even there, the modern world arrives with antennas, roads, tourists. And the balance between tradition and survival becomes more fragile with each new power pole. Children sell flowers at traffic lights. They offer them with trained smiles, eyes that know how to ask without begging. Many can't read, but they know how to count money. They know when a driver pretends to be on the phone just to avoid eye contact. And even so, they stay there day after day. Street food is more than a business. It's culture. Pots boil on busy corners, spices fill the air, lines form around stalls that have existed for decades. There, every recipe is a legacy, every bite, a story. Inside the factories, noise is constant. Machines cut, press, weld. Workers speak little, listen carefully to orders. Time there is ruled by targets, and sweat is part of the uniform. Many don't know the name of the person next to them, but they know the sound of the whistle that marks the end of the shift, like a silent prayer of relief. The woman wakes before the sun, makes coffee, fixes her daughter's uniform, cleans the house, and heads to work. She walks 40 minutes on foot, rain or shine, tired or not. But she's never late. Because she knows if she slips up, someone else will take her place. And she can't afford to lose anything. At the public university, a young man delivers lunchboxes between classes. He studies economics, wants to understand why poverty persists. But deep down, he already knows. He sees it every day. The gap isn't only in the textbooks. It's in the stairs between one floor and the next. Weddings often happen in silence. Many times without parties, without new clothes, without guests. Just two people holding hands, promising to try. Because loving, here, is an act of courage. It's choosing to stay even when the world pulls in opposite directions. Trash is part of the landscape. Bags fly between cars. Leftovers pile on sidewalks. Waste pickers do the work the system ignores. Some look with disgust. Others don't look at all. But there are those who see sustenance, a chance, a bridge to the next day. Music invades everything. Even in the poorest areas, there are speakers hanging, old radios, off-key voices singing with joy. The melody is an escape. It's proof that something still pulses. That even tired, they are still people, and still know how to dance. Small stores fight against giants. They sell on credit, trust a word, stay open later than usual. And still, they persist. Because neighborhood commerce is not just business. It's social bond, a support network, familiarity in a world that changes too fast. Some teenagers study standing in bus aisles. They read wrinkled handouts, take notes in makeshift notebooks, review formulas before the test. They know the road is long, but they also know that giving up would make it infinite. Delivery workers speed through narrow streets. They run up staircases, face sun, rain, traffic. They shout through the app and wait for a tip that might never come, but they don't stop. Because the next order is already on its way. Older women gather children at the end of the afternoon. They tell old stories, teach songs, braid hair. They are living libraries of a time not written in official records. Because memory is also a form of resistance. The heat weighs down on the city. Asphalt melts, people faint, fans break. But the routine doesn't stop. No one can afford to wait for the weather to improve. Working in the heat is just another detail. Like haste. Like pain. In prison, the screams mix with the echoes of gates. Young men who couldn't escape the statistic. People walk in a hurry through the underground stations. Thousands of footsteps per minute, eyes down, headphones in. There's no room for collisions, and yet they happen. Whoever falls, gets up alone, no one stops. Time is worth more than care. And there, compassion is a silent and rare gesture. In the rural areas, time seems to move slower, but it's no less difficult. Workers wake with the sound of roosters, plant rice with their feet in the mud, harvest with calloused hands and sunburned eyes. The profits don't always come, but duty does, always. A father teaches his son to ride a bike through narrow alleys, dodging motorcycles and potholes. He smiles as if nothing else matters. Because that moment is rare. Because there, between honks and rusty cans, there's still room for affection, even if the world says otherwise. In shopping malls, the air is cold and the hallways gleam. Storefronts display products many will never touch. But some walk in just to dream, to smell a perfume, to imagine what it would be like to shop without counting every cent. The distance between desire and reality is measured in installments. Social media shows another life. Well-dressed profiles, plastic smiles, endless vacations. On the other side of the screen, young people sit in wooden shacks holding old cell phones, trying to understand why their lives look nothing like that. But they keep scrolling, because sometimes imagining is the only escape. On the seamstress's table, fabric scraps become dresses, pillowcases, uniforms. Her fingers are fast. The machine makes constant noise. She works by the hour, no contract, no vacations, no rest. But with pride. Because there, between threads and needles, she supports more than a home. She supports hope. In smaller towns, boredom is a frequent visitor. Young people gather in plazas with public Wi-Fi, share short videos, talk about big dreams. Some will leave soon. Others will stay, putting down roots out of necessity. And over time, they'll learn to call it a choice. Rice is divided carefully. On the plate, meat is a luxury. Beans are served again. And even so, there's gratitude at the table. Because eating together is still a ritual. Because despite everything, family is what remains. And for many, that's already enough. The motorcycle taxi driver waits on the corner. Hot sun, helmet in hand, alert eyes. He knows every shortcut, every steep climb, every ignored stop sign. He carries strangers, hears stories, returns home unsure of how much he earned. But certain that he tried. The school uniform is ironed with care. Even old, it still symbolizes something greater. The mother folds it gently, adjusts the collar, combs her son's hair. Says studying is the way, even knowing the way is long. Unequal, crooked. But it's a way. In the small temple, between peeling walls, people kneel. They pray for health, for jobs, for protection. They sing with weak voices, but firm faith. Because spirituality in that place is not dogma, it's necessity. It's what's left when everything else fails. Truck drivers cross the country. They sleep in cramped cabins, eat at roadside stops, drive for hours without seeing anyone. They are the invisible nerves of the system. When one stops, an entire city feels it. But almost no one notices. Because those who carry the world are rarely seen. Children learn to draw using whatever they have. Pieces of charcoal, broken pencils, already used notebook paper. They create colorful worlds amidst the gray. They draw houses with gardens, smiling people, blue skies. Even when they've never seen any of it up close. In the community nursing home, the elderly wait for visits that don't always come. They tell stories few listen to, hold yellowed photos, stare out the window with a kind of longing time can't cure. They don't ask for much, just that the world remembers they still exist. The woman who sells candy at the traffic light was once a teacher. She lost her job, lost her husband, but never lost her instinct to teach. She offers her goods with polite phrases, corrects her children's grammar, still reads to them before bed. Because for her, knowledge is a form of resistance. Street sweepers clean a city that doesn't see them. They pass with wide brooms, noisy trucks, fluorescent uniforms. They carry away what everyone discards and receive glances many avoid. But they go on. Because they know that without them, nothing works. At the edge of the city, new buildings rise like promises. But behind them, the displaced build shacks from leftovers. Modernization has a price. And that price is almost always paid by those who weren't invited to the progress party. Job lines form before sunrise. People with folders in hand, printed resumes, borrowed clothes. Some return with no answer. Others get a test, an internship, a maybe. And with that, they go back smiling, because in the most populous country in the world, any maybe is already half a yes. Public school students organize science fairs with recycled materials. They build models with cardboard, invent experiments with plastic bottles. Their eyes shine as if the world really belonged to them. And for a moment, it does. The candy seller on the train knows the schedules, the faces, the most profitable cars. He has rehearsed phrases, a polite way of asking, a look that almost apologizes for interrupting. But he never gives up. Because the next station might bring the luck the last one didn't. Clothes dry on improvised lines between buildings. Colorful sheets dance in the wind, creating curtains in the city windows. Each piece holds a story, sweat, effort, and even faded. They represent dignity. The beach is crowded. Children play in the sand, vendors sell corn and soda, families squeeze under a single umbrella. The sea there is the same for everyone. But the view from the penthouse will never be the same as from the one who arrives by bus with a lunchbox.in. The late afternoon, the trains fill again. People stand, sleep, lean on each other without meaning to. No one talks. The collective silence is how they endure the routine. And still, someone opens a book, listens to a song, imagines a different life. Street vendors set up and take down stalls like magic. They sell everything: chargers, clothes, food, hope. They run from inspections, come back later, resist with creativity. The young man who bags groceries at the supermarket looks at the clock with anxiety. His shift is ending, but the second job starts in an hour. There's no time to rest. Just a tight journey between one exhaustion and the next. But he doesn't complain, says it's just a phase. And with luck, it will pass. The janitor at the luxury building opens the gate with a discreet smile. He knows every resident by name, but rarely hears his own. He follows silent orders, cleans without being seen, lives in a small room next to the water pump. There, luxury has depth. And the invisible has a name, Effort. At the market, the lady in an apron offers cut fruit. She speaks loudly, jokes with the children, negotiates with firmness. Behind her, cardboard boxes hide garbage bags and a wooden bench where she sits for 10 minutes a day. Her fingers ache, but her eyes still shine. The girl who serves coffee at the bakery dreams of becoming an architect. She studies late at night, watches classes on her phone between orders. She draws on napkins, has folders full of projects no one has seen, and believes that one day, someone will notice. On school buses, children sleep leaning against the windows. Some didn't have breakfast. Others brought lunch made from dinner leftovers. But all carry in their backpacks the desire to understand the world. Because learning, there is not just a right, it's an act of faith. In the countryside, radios still play loudly in kitchens. News, soap operas, songs that recall old times. While the pot bubbles, the woman cleans the floor with a handmade broom. She thinks of the son who went to the city and prays that he is eating well. The construction worker holds the drill as if it were an extension of his arm. The helmet hides his sweaty forehead. The uniform has old stains. He builds apartments he'll never afford, but he does it with care. Because being dignified, even without reward, is his way of existing. Public libraries still resist. Worn books, scratched tables, loose chairs. But inside, silence is respect. And the readers, few focused, are seekers of meaning in a world that screams. Every page turned is an act of resistance against ignorance. The girl with a disability crosses the street with effort. Her wheelchair gets stuck in the broken sidewalks. An old man helps her. She thanks him with a full smile. Because there, where almost everything is hard, a simple gesture is like a bridge over the impossible. The man who sweeps the square sings softly. He learned to drive away silence with music. He sweeps leaves, bottles, forgotten trash. But he also collects stories. He's seen weddings, fights, apologies, and understands more than anyone what it means to live in the cities and dash between. At the makeshift shelter, the volunteer offers soup. She learned that asking, "Are you hungry?" is more humane than "Do you want food?" Because respect begins with how you speak. And there, in the warmth of the aluminum pot, more than food is served, dignity is served. The young black man who walks into the designer clothing store is followed by eyes. He doesn't touch anything, walks slowly, holds his phone firmly. He knows he's being judged, but he keeps going. Because it's not other people's stares that define his worth. The woman who embroiders names on towels has never embroidered her own. She works by commission, memorizes the names of children she'll never see, family she doesn't know. But in every stitch she puts something of herself. Because even if no one knows, she knows what she made. The internet technician climbs improvised poles, balances among wires, installs connections for families who need online classes, job interviews, videos with distant relatives. He also has kids, but today, he's 30 kilometers from home and hasn't eaten lunch yet. On the dirt soccer field, boys play barefoot. They shout names of idols, imitate commentators, pretend championship finals. The ball is old, but the joy is new. Every goal there feels like the first, and maybe the only. The elderly woman who plants herbs on the sidewalk teaches her grandson to distinguish the smells. Talks about uses, cures, prayers. Says the earth speaks. The boy listens. And in that moment, even among gray buildings, ancestral wisdom blooms. The university student walks 40 minutes every day. Wears the same shirt washed by hand, carries bread and banana in his backpack, but studies with determination. Because he knows that for him, the diploma is more than a title, it's a crossing. The trans woman who works at the snack bar faces harsh stares daily. But she serves with sweetness, with elegance, smiles with courage. Because resistance is also serving with kindness, even when the world is cruel. The children of waste pickers learn early to separate paper, aluminum, glass. They play among garbage bags but talk about the future with excitement. Because for them, recycling is more than reuse. It's rebuilding. In the alley lit by broken lamps, two teenagers play guitar. They sing original songs, record with a borrowed phone, dream of bigger stages. They know success is unlikely, but not impossible. And that's enough. The street vendor selling phone cases shouts creative names. Bomb-proof, jealousy-resistant. Plays funk by itself. Customers laugh, buy, move on. He laughs too, because selling is also entertaining. And he knows that. In the city center, a graffiti covers the school wall. It shows a child flying with books in hand. No one knows who did it, but everyone who passes slows down. Because art, when it touches, doesn't need a signature. The night security guard walks through empty hallways. The sound of his own footsteps is his company. He writes poems during his shift. About loneliness. About the days. About what he observes. No one reads them, but he writes. Because writing is surviving. The cleaning lady who scrubs 6 homes a week writes down recipes found in other people's kitchen notebooks. One day, she wants to open a small stand. She says, life in the most populous country in the world cannot be contained in a single narrative. It slips through the cracks of statistics, hides behind hurried smiles, screams in silence in the alleys and small apartments. It's impossible to understand. That place through numbers alone, you have to listen to it. Feel the weight of its routines, the sound of its crowded trains, the bittersweet aroma of its corners. There, the future is not a promise, it's an effort. Each person carries on their back the responsibility of not giving up. They wake up early, return late, face lines, scares, improvisations. And even so, they plant. They plant hope in the driest soil, that of collective disbelief. They go on because stopping hurts more. There's no time off to dream, but there is no ban either. People dream during breaks, on the bus, in the public. Healthline during lunch. They dream even knowing that reality is rough. Because dreaming, in that place, is not fantasy. It's resistance. Culture pulses in every neighborhood, in every accent, in every improvised act. Art emerges where no one looks. Poetry sprouts where nothing should bloom. Creativity is not a luxury, it's a tool. It is through it that lack becomes solution, and pain becomes beauty. Religions coexist side by side, competing for space on the streets, but meeting in people's hearts. The people believe in something, even if they can't name it. Faith. There doesn't depend on temple or doctrine. It clings to the invisible like someone holding tightly to the last rope in a stormy sea. The inequalities are so deep they sometimes seem normal. But they are not. They are open wounds we've learned to cover with pretty words. Resilience, grit, Brazilian way. Words that disguise what is structural. But those who live there know, it's not natural. It's daily confrontation, affection. Is discreet but intense. A shared snack, a brief hug, a look of complicity. Relationships are sustained through small gestures. Because love, when there's no time or space, shows itself in the details. And there, the details save. Women carry the country in their arms, in their laps, on their backs. They are the ones who lead homes, hold everything together, organize. Others lives while forgetting their own. And even tired, they keep going. Because they know stopping is not an option when someone depends on your step. Childhood there matures early, but doesn't lose its sweetness. Children know things they shouldn't, but still laugh at soap bubbles and kites in the sky. Still invent games with stones and bottle caps. Still believe the world can be different, and maybe they will be the ones to change it. The people laugh. Laugh loudly, even when everything is falling apart. They joke about the chaos, dance in lines, sing on the bus. Because laughter is the last territory of freedom. And there, where so many social prisons exist, there's still room to laugh with eyes squeezed tight from hope. Some give up. And they can't be judged. Giving up is also human. But there are those who get up the next day, wipe their eyes and say, "Today will work." And that simple act moves the wheel. Makes the country turn, even if misaligne day down the outskirts. Life pulses louder. The streets are narrow. Alleys hide talents. The slums guard potential. There, art is made with spray cans, cinema with cell phones, fashion with scraps. Because beauty doesn't ask for permission to exist. In the mansions, silence is another language. Time moves slowly, and the outside world seems like another planet. But even there, from time to time, something leaks in. A song, a scream. Glance through the window. And the reality outside comes in, even uninvited. Public transportation is the stage of forced coexistence. Rich and poor rarely meet, but inside the bus or train, shoulder to shoulder, they are just passengers. And in that shared journey, the most intimate pains and the highest dreams are heard. Technology advances, but doesn't always reach everyone. In some homes there's no Wi-Fi. In others, 3 cell phones per person. But the difference isn't in the device, it's in what can be done with it. And there, those who have access share it, because they know no one grows alone. Fear is a constant companion. Fear of unemployment, of violence, of illness. But it doesn't paralyze. It just teaches people to step more carefully, to look around, to go out with faith. Because even in fear, the people go on. The colors of the country are not just in the flag. They're in the graffiti-covered walls, in the clothes hung out to dry, in the colorful foods at the markets. It's a country that, even wounded, insists on dressing up. Because aesthetics there is also armor. Warmth is not a myth, it's real. A stranger helps with the groceries. Another lets someone pass in traffic. A woman blesses anyone who sneezes. And those gestures, which seem small, are what keep total collapse away. Street animals are part of the landscape. Cats in the squares. Dogs on sidewalks, birds in windows. All find shelter where they can. And the people feed, welcome, talk to them. Because there, even the voiceless have a place. Tragedies are common, but each morning is unique. People cry for strangers, pray for victims they've never seen. Mobilize, donate, share. Because they understand that in pain, we are all neighbors. Food is celebration. Even when there's little, it's shared with honor. Rice and eggs become a feast. Coffee and bread are reasons to gather. Eating together, there's more than nourishing the body. It's feeding the soul. Informal work supports millions. People who sell, sew, clean, care. People without contracts, but with discipline. People who don't appear in data, but without whom the country would stop. And even invisible, they carry on. Education is unequal, but students are stubborn. They study by candlelight with borrowed notebooks, old books. And they learn. They learn because they know knowledge is a kind of freedom no one can take away. Folk festivals still go on. Even with little money, there is dancing. Even without costumes, there is playing. Even without fireworks, there is celebration. Because culture doesn't need sponsorship to exist. It only needs people. The elderly carry history on their skin. Wrinkles that tell of wars, memories of times when everything was harder, yet somehow more united. They are living libraries, waiting for patient readers. Solidarity doesn't make headlines, but it's seen in gestures. A plate left on a wall, clothes given without asking for size, a ride offered without expecting anything in return. It's a tough country, but with soft-hearted people. Violence exists, but so does peace. And it lives in the alleys, in circles of conversation, in street corner meets. It lives in guitars tuned with hope, and in whispered prayers before sleep. Youth want more. They want to leave, return, change everything. They question, protest, create. And even if the system is too big, they move. Because if there's something no one can stop, it's the strength of those who haven't stopped dreaming. And when the sun sets in the most populous country in the world, it doesn't say goodbye in silence. It hides behind buildings, shacks, and smoke clouds. But there's always someone watching.